A major ex-WWE champion retires, plus scrapped AEW title plans have been revealed, and an infamous WCW gimmick match is returning this weekend. It's all in the Cultaholic wrestling news right now. She don't give a hoot about your darn reputation. That's the words, isn't it? It's spot on. We've got an update on Ronda Rousey this morning, and if you're a Ronda-ite, if you're a Rousey rouser... It's not the best of news for you.
No, Rousey shared some family photos on Instagram yesterday, along with the quote from the movie Elemental, "Sorry, I couldn't hear you through my retirement," suggesting very emphatically.
I emphatically tell you.
I'm awful at words.
Emphatically, you're not.
Well, that's very kind of you, I think. That she is done in the world of both the UFC and WWE. She's done it. She's calling a time on it.
Whilst it felt like a speed run retirement in WWE, like we've got this storyline with her and Shayna Baszler that just sort of rushed to the end. Ronda was always keen to make sure that when she went out and made somebody else shine in the process. I really hope that shine isn't wasted. I feel like Shayna Baszler definitely needs to have a motor running, maybe have a belt on her at some point. That'd be nice.
That would be very, very nice. And I think, if with Triple H more in charge at this point as well, I can see that happening down the line for sure.
Yeah, I reckon that'd be nice. I don't think this is the end either.
Do you know?
No, I think in terms of in-ring, very likely.
Yeah.
She's somebody that, especially now that she's in both UFC and WWE camps, she's somebody that could work as an ambassador. She's somebody who could make guest appearances.
I could see something more like that happening.
I could see them putting her in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. I could as well, to be honest.
For the the joint work in UFC and WWE, you don't have to necessarily like the in-ring stuff, and she's not always nailed it with promos and stuff. But in terms of credentials, qualifications, and accomplishments, I think that's the Hall of Fame short but sweet career that she's had across UFC and WWE. Stick her in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, why not?
That's going to get some heat, but I stand by it. An ex-WWE star is rocking up on Rampage next week. It was announced by Tony Khan on Twitter that Rocky Romero is competing for Mexico's pound-for-pound crown against a long-standing rival from CMLL in Mystico.
Ooh.
Who you and I may know as Sin Cara.
We sure do.
Mystico, one of the biggest names out of Mexico, and he was signed to great fanfare to WWE in 2011. And, like jumping on a trampoline, it shot very quickly and then just sort of fell to the ground in sad fashion. It never really worked. It never panned out, I think, the way everybody hoped it would. I think many thought that he'd be like a new Rey Mysterio for the company.
It felt that way, didn't it? It felt sort of like WWE were trying to find the next sort of Rey Mysterio. But Rey Mysterio's Rey Mysterio,
There is that.
Yeah.
Be that as it may, Mystico's legacy in Mexico is unparalleled, and he'll be in action next Friday on Rampage. Interesting to put it on Rampage. I don't know whether this is a case of trying to do something to bring in new eyes to that product.
Yeah, it could very well be, because I feel like recently on Rampage we've had more sort of luchadors coming in to do these like sort of one-off matches and things as
Luchadors and Jeff Jarrett.
Luchadors and Jeff Jarrett. We were talking recently, I think it was me and you on the news, talking about the relationship that sort of New Japan, CMLL and MLW were sort of like all coming together to have these little bits and pieces sort of to cross-promote each other. It's worth noting Rocky Romero, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and Mystico, CMLL. Maybe there's something a little bit there.
Very clever. I hadn't figured that one out. But they're going to fight for the pound-for-pound crown of Mexico next Friday. On this past Tuesday, we saw a fight for the AEW International title that saw Orange Cassidy become a two-time international champion, beating Rey Fenix. Now, this was meant to be a very different match because obviously, we wind the clock back a few weeks on this. Moxley was meant to beat Fenix on Dynamite a few weeks back. An audible was called and Mox got hurt. but Phoenix got the belt and they moved it again. What's the story in terms of what we were supposed to see happen on Title Tuesday with Phoenix and Moxley?
Well, the plan on Tuesday, as reported by Fightful, was to have Moxley reclaim the title from Phoenix, but as you know, we've mentioned there, it wasn't to be. They say, unfortunately, the day of the show, Jon Moxley was not cleared and was replaced by Orange Cassidy. Cassidy would go on to win the international title, although he wasn't considered for it in the days or weeks prior. We've learned that likely whoever would have been booked against Rey Fenix would have also won the title.
But why rush to get the belt off Fenix since he was a champion? Well, we'd heard that Fenix was indeed working injured. He had a few nagging injuries that hadn't quite gone away that he was pushing through. But Fightful also adds that sources close to them say that Fenix is facing some visa issues at the moment that will leave him out of action on AEW TV for an unknown amount of time. So therefore, the decision was made to move the international title initially to Moxley, and then Moxley wasn't cleared. Like, who can have it then? Someone needs to have this belt. And so back to Orange Cassidy it goes. Initially I was very, I was intrigued by the choice to put it back on Orange, because I feel like Orange Cassidy did all that he could with that belt and was moving on to other things. This feels like it was a bit of a last-minute decision.
I think, just unforeseen circumstances, unfortunately, because him and Moxley had that tremendous match All Out as well. That was like a nice way just to sort of like call time on Cassidy's time as the international champion. And then, obviously all the things happened with Moxley and now Fenix as well, unfortunately. So I wonder if we get another sort of lengthy reign for a while with Cassidy until Moxley's back in the picture again. Or do we kind of just like move away from it entirely? Have somebody else pick up the belt down the line and let them have a bit of a lengthy reign for it, and then maybe Moxley comes in. I wouldn't mind seeing another match between Moxley and Cassidy for sure, but the match that they had together felt very like the perfect way to end that current run for Orange Cassidy, you know?
Unless we have the thing, as you were saying, like where we have Orange and Mox run it back again, and Mox is like, I beat you last time, I'm going to beat you again. Can Orange finally sort of get over the hump and beat Mox this time? Which
would be a huge deal for Orange as well, I think. I think that would be a tremendous thing for him to sort of overcome too. So
it's the case of unforeseen circumstances that plague the AEW international title. But here's a circumstance you can foresee. January 27th, Cultaholic and Hooked on Wrestling are at Box Park, Wembley, for a Royal Rumble watch party unlike any other that will be happening. It'll be the lads from Cultaholic, the team from Cultaholic, Hooked on Wrestling there as well. Last year there was costume parties and themed cocktails and all sorts of good fun had. Replicating that along with our very special guest, the one and only Fred Ottman, aka Tugboat, toot toot lads, toot toot, aka Typhoon, aka the Shockmaster. Q&A with the Shockmaster.
That's exciting.
Ahead of the Rumble.
That's really cool.
It's going to be great. There's going to be Hooked on Wrestling Royal Rumble parties across the UK. You can find one close to you by going to HO Wrestling on Twitter. And tickets for all the events go on sale next month. We hope to see you at Box Park, Wembley for Cultaholic, Hooked on Wrestling, and Fred Ottman's Wacky Royal Rumble Adventures. That's officially what it's called. The National Wrestling Alliance returning to TV. Billy Corgan was on Busted Open Radio announcing that they had signed 2 TV deals recently. Very vague about what they were, but it does mean that the NWA Power program will be moving to what Billy Corgan describes as a top 20 network and off of YouTube very, very soon. I don't know how much of NWA Power you've been drinking in lately, but they have returned to sort of the sound studio setup, which is a delight. And there's some really strong character work going on in and around it.
There is, and I was kind of, because I remember when it first came to YouTube and there was such a big buzz about it as well. Now I sort of went back and had a look, and the viewership has obviously, I feel like for a lot of things has sort of declined over the years. Of course, you know, we had the pandemic and everything, and everybody was sort of inside. They had time for watching wrestling and stuff and everything like that, sort of, you know, on a YouTube show. A tremendous way to do it, I thought, as well. Put out a free wrestling show on YouTube, which was such a good idea to get like lots of new eyes on the product and on NWA as well. It's declined quite a bit since then, so maybe hopefully getting onto a TV deal that can push them out a little bit further. And I say further, like YouTube is universal, isn't it? Like everybody's got YouTube.
But there's a sense of legitimacy and there's a monetization that you can do with a network that you can't do with a YouTube channel. And you can see those steps being made by NWA to sort of to push on and tell people who they are and where they are. At the end of the month, they are presenting their most violent pay-per-view ever, Samhain. And the voice of that pay-per-view is one of the managers, one of the finest managers in wrestling history. Some know him as James Vanderberg. Some know him as the Sinister Minister. We know him as Father James Mitchell, currently managing Judas Messias and Max the Impaler in the National Wrestling Alliance. I had a chat with Father James Mitchell last night.
Oh, you get about you, Tom.
Getting about
you get about you. Good on you.
Father James Mitchell talked to us all about Samhain and the steps. NWA says he's renewed his love for wrestling through the NWA.
That's really cool.
And we talk about that. There was a bit of a rumor and innuendo about a WrestleMania match between The Undertaker and Abyss.
Yeah.
He gives us the lowdown on it.
Oh, spicy.
It's on the podcast feed on Sunday. If you're a Patreon, as a thank you, you can watch the interview as well at patreon.com/Cultaholic on Sunday. Father James Mitchell, Cultaholic becomes a Cultaholic, if you will. Let's stay spooky because this weekend, an infamous WCW gimmick match is making a return to the wrestling world. Tell us all about it, Andrew.
Oh my God. It was announced recently that Major League Wrestling are bringing an infamous WCW match back from the dead at Slaughterhouse this weekend, which is their Halloween-themed pay-per-view. The match will see the Second Gear Crew's Mance Warner and Matthew Justice facing Cannonball and Talon from The Calling inside a steel cage. A chair of torture, oh my God, had also been alluded to by MLW. Now, Fightful Select confirmed last night that MLW do indeed have an electric chair to go inside the cage, completely recapturing the WCW Chamber of Horrors affair from 1991, which obviously saw Abdullah the Butcher getting electrocuted. What an image that is.
They announced the Chamber of Horrors a little while back, but it was revealed by Fightful that yes, indeed, there will be an electric chair properly installed inside the ring for the Chamber of Horror match for Major League Wrestling. Come on!
I'm buzzing for it.
So is Abdullah.
He's done it! He's done it!
I love it. I like how Halloween brings out the silly in the greatest of wrestling.
And we see NXT sort of embracing Halloween Havoc now too, and it's nice to see that silliness and that sort of the whimsy that Halloween brings with it.
Wrestling is silly. Let's embrace its being silliness, shall we? And for the latest wrestling news throughout the day, you can check out Cultaholic. Can check out Cultaholic.com. Kiss, kiss.
Love, boo, bye. Oh, got him.
Halloween.
Got him.